Growing up, I've come to realize that there are two types of people. Linking this to the first letter of a Myers-Briggs type indicator personality, a person could either be extroverted or introverted. If you were to ask me to categorize myself, I would immediately consider myself as an introvert. This may be shocking to some of you, considering the fact that I'm comfortably presenting a talk to you right now. Well, I don't think that's enough anti-justification. I also like talking to people and going out when I have free time. However, I often prefer to work in solitude, and as contradicting as I may sound after that previous sentence, I would just love to stay at home where I'm most relaxed. So yes, I'm pretty much a living paradox. Now, a few of you may be thinking, why can't you just call yourself an ambivert? But I'm going to be straight up stubborn and still say that I'm an introvert. Why do I persist with my point? This is because many people perceive introverts as enclosed, so it's a surprise to find an introvert who is social. While to some extent it may be true, we are way more than what you see on the surface. For instance, people often think introverts are shy, when in fact, according to psychologist Lori Helgo, introverts just prefer to think and process information before they speak, and hence they often appear aloof. Adding to that, introverts tend to feel socially cautious in unfamiliar environments and most likely keep to themselves until they feel somewhat comfortable. Another misconception is that introverts are less happy than extroverts. This is definitely a stereotypical assumption, as most people associate vivacious attitude with happiness, which almost all extroverts exude. But I think introverts are equally as happy as extroverts. It's just that introverts prefer a different atmosphere of happy. We find tranquility and therefore happiness in environments that are not overstimulating. So you could say that we are energized by low energy surroundings. Ironic, right? Going back to the viewpoint that the words introvert and social could possibly describe the same person, I'm going to further diminish that and once more prove it wrong. As psychologist Jonathan Cheek had pointed out, there's not just one type of introvert, but in fact, 4 distinct types. Thinking introverts, anxious introverts, restrained introverts, and guess what? Social introverts. Now, as self-explanatory as these terms are, allow me to break them down for you. Social introverts are those who don't mind the occasional social gathering. Nonetheless, in such situations, you're likely to find them in the corner of the room, either by themselves or with a fairly small group of friends. Personally, this is a trait I would usually associate myself with. A friend can surely convince me to go to a party with them. However, in the back of my mind, I would still lean strongly towards staying at home. Thinking introverts are those who, well, love to ponder about everything. They're mostly seen as analytical and they're usually absorbed in their thoughts. Consequently, they appear reserved on the surface. After all, they're likely to be engrossed in the fictional world, which is basically me 24/7, or conjuring up the world's next great innovation. Anxious introverts are those who prefer solitude mostly because they feel self-aware around other people, as their presence makes them nervous. You're likely to find them feeling overstimulated when around large crowds of people, for instance. Moreover, they may often worry about social interactions that had gone wrong. Questions like, why did I just say that? Or did I think I'm weird? Or what was I thinking? Will constantly run through their mind even hours after these conversations had taken place. And lastly, restrained introverts are those who prefer to take things slow, to say the least. They are people who require time to get accustomed to a situation. Having said that, they're individuals who couldn't be forced into instantaneous action. For example, they would probably require ample of time to energize themselves as they wake up in the morning, rather than just spring into action, as you could say. I guess to give you a better idea, they're like the tortoise rather than the hare. They believe that slow and steady definitely gives the best outcome, and of course wins the race. Just like how there's no fine line between introversion and extroversion, one can't be classified into a single type of introversion, but rather the entire spectrum is to be taken into account. In my case, I strongly possess both the thinking and social traits, and I assume it's these traits that provide a variation within the vast pool of introverts, indeed making us an interesting domain of people. To conclude, I didn't choose to speak about this topic to prove that introversion outweighs extroversion. I chose this topic with the purpose of busting the misconceptions that surround us and to prove that we are not all one and the same. In my opinion, if I were to speak about introversion just to offset extroversion, my talk would be of no substance. Instead, I strongly believe that both are equally as significant and that we should embrace it as a global community. Thank you.